success, failure, and everything in between. Raising the business game together. Learn from leaders, innovators, and misfits on how to get made in China.
Hi, I'm Preston Kuo, and thanks for getting made with us at the Made in China podcast. Episode 3 is recorded in Shanghai at the AmCham Shanghai SME Center, and we're honored to feature partner and manager of one of the U.S.'s largest and oldest foreign law offices in China, Mr. Li Qiang, but more commonly known as just LQ. What's great about LQ is that he simply figured it all out. He's figured it out.
Yeah, but to me, fun is very important because I think fun makes everything sustainable.
Yeah. Really,
you know what?
Yeah.
I really figured out history, Chinese history. Actually, I've been studying global history as it relates to China for the past 23 years, all by myself because nobody wanted to study with me. And I figured everything out. Yeah, because the biggest point is, as I told you, when it comes to history, nobody tells you the truth.
Right.
So you have to figure out everything by yourself. And I did that. I'm glad I did that, actually. I'm glad I did that. I feel a lot more at ease staying here, living here, you know.
Because you have like a foundation of where it all came from.
Yes.
So you kind of have a direction of where it's going.
Yes. My view is the past is the future.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm passionate about is to grow the expat community in Shanghai. Because there's always been an expat community in China in the past 2,000 years. Throughout classical China, when China was leading the world in technology, in trade, when the Silk Road was booming, there were huge expat communities in Guangzhou. There was no Shanghai yet. In Yangzhou, in Xi'an, in Dunhuang, in Beijing, you know, all those places. There were huge expat communities, but not like from Western Europe. They were from like Persia. They were Arabs. They were Koreans, Japanese. It was huge. So it's my passion to help the expat community grow.
But what's the value?
What value?
For Chinese or for the expats? Why do you want it to grow?
Oh, it's basically China's destiny. I mean, if you look at China's history, China's destiny, and I think the current leadership, Mr. Xi, understands it. China needs to be a manufacturing and a trading nation. So to achieve that, you need to have connections. You need to have friends.
You need people to make things for and things to trade with.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
What about technology having to do with this manufacturing and trading nation? What does that play?
Well, technology will make everything
easier,
sustainable, right?
Technology is the tool.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything that's not sustainable.
Right.
You only want to do something that's sustainable. That makes sense.
Otherwise, you have to
for everybody.
Keep
otherwise, it's too much work.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, it's too much work.
Keep going back. Do it once.
Yeah.
Let it do it itself.
Yes.
After that.
Exactly.
A lazy man's dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Having been here so long, being a current passionate student of history, looking back at your personal history, give me
always a failure. Men eventually mature when they turn 50, I think. I'm 49. I'm getting there.
You're almost there.
Yeah, almost there.
So what do you think has been your biggest failure that you've learned from?
One of the lessons I learned was when I first came to China, everybody was talking about the Chinese and expats. They were talking about, Guanxi. Everything is about Guanxi. But you know, Guanxi is actually not very sustainable if you don't put values in it. So that's a hard lesson I learned.
Tell me about
So there was one tipping point where I started to approach Chinese companies to try to develop them into potential clients, right? And I did a terrible job, and I was being very nice to them. I was being very courteous to them. You know, I was trying to be like them. I trying to speak, because I have a heavy Shanghainese accent when I speak Mandarin. I mean, some people don't recognize it, but I can tell if I hear a recording of my own speech. And I think that there is a Shanghainese tone in my English as well, which is fine. So I tried to be more like these big SOE bosses and try to hang out with them. It didn't work at all. And then I realized that the reason it didn't work was I was too keen. I was too keen. I was making it too painful for me, because I don't think they wanted me to be like them. If I'm like them, then they don't think I add any value to them.
Right.
They wanted me to be like a bridge for them, right? Because of my international background, because of my connections to the outside world,
right.
because of my connections to my expat friends, they want me to be like their ears, their eyes, and can share the true story of the outside world with them.
Right.
Much the same way as I share the true China story with the outside world, right? So I can tell that a lot of times I go to these meetings and I tried very hard, but I could tell that people were very, very skeptical about me, and I couldn't get them to change that. I couldn't change that image of myself in front of those guys until I started to move away from them and say, guys, look, I'm keen, I'm desperate, but not that desperate.
Right.
So that's one of the things I explore. How do I add value to
a relationship,
clients,
the clients,
to friends, because if you add value, plus you do it in a fun way,
right.
that will make things sustainable.
That's right.
Yes,
absolutely.
Everything is about sustainability,
right?
About effortlessness,
right? Investing once,
yes,
and letting it grow,
yes.
But
you have to do it right. You have to do
agree.
it right. Yeah.
When you said you felt that they knew, what do you mean?
Oh, you can tell that they challenge you a lot. So you can tell when things don't go right.
Feel right, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. So they challenge you a lot, and it's so much pain, and you make a proposal to them. They treat you like a plumber, even though I'm not dressed like a plumber. They treat you like a plumber. They nickel and dime you, and you can tell the relationship is not right. And I'm old enough now to realize that if something goes in that direction, I think you should back off and study the relationship further to see if there's anything you can do to put it back on track. If not, I think you should cut your loss and
move on. Yeah.
Well, they were bringing, they will make allusions to some of our competitors, Milbank or whoever. We're talking to those guys too, so be careful. But if they,
it wasn't easy. They made it hard for you, right?
They make it hard for you. But if they see you, if you have sort of succeeded in convincing them that you add value to them, you as a person add value to them, and they really want to be with you, they will make things easy for you. They will really make things.
So what
easy.
was the turning point when you said, "Okay, guys, I'm going to back off"? So then, what did you do to switch it?
Because of my familiarity with history, and not just Chinese history, but also global history, and I actually moved away from talking about the mundane stuff with them. When I'm with them, I make sure, first of all, I make sure that I'm selective. I no longer go out with everybody. I go out with people who I feel may have a synergy with me, right? And then I start talking to them about broader things. Not just always about business, and not about the next project. I mean, I want to do the next project too, but I want to do it on the right terms. Okay,
sure.
So I tried to, in a way, I started to tell my own story. They would, over time, realize that I'm somebody who understands their values, understand values of other cultures, of other countries, and I can help them tell their story. I think I understand them, but I'm different from them.
Okay.
Right. And then I also understand the other side of the story. So I remember we did a deal. We took a Chinese private company who didn't speak a word of English. Nice people, though, family business, but listed in China. We took them to New Orleans to get a petrochemical company that they were interested in buying. Clearly, when I was in the meeting helping to moderate the conversation, the negotiation, the other side were fascinated. I mean, the U.S., the seller, they were interested, they were keen, and I helped them tell their story, basically. If I had taken the prior approach, because before we went, right, we had an investment banker who prepared some slides for these guys, because I told them that, look, when you go to this management meeting, it's not you doing due diligence on the target company. It's also the target company, the management there, doing due diligence on you as a potential owner of the business, right? So the bankers put together some numbers, right, from the public filings and all that. And I said, look,
that's nice.
That's nice, but it's not just that. They need to understand who you are. You are a family business. Who is the patriarch? What is it? What are his values?
Yeah, right.
What has he done for the employees, for the community? What is his strategy?
You're joining someone else's family.
Yeah, exactly. Or somebody else is joining you,
right.
Your family, right? So you need to tell your story. And I speak their language. I have their vocabulary, and I can translate that into English. In my own way. Right. So
like creative.
Yeah. My job is to really help with translation. Like in the legal field, I translate legal language into the language of commerce. Right.
It seems that the storytelling is a big part of trust, but I don't want to necessarily take you down that path. But give me a story about trust.
Developing Chinese clients, I keep coming back to that topic. Building an institutional trusting relationship, that's a big challenge for a lot of Western advisors like ours, right? And it was hard to do. And one of the things that we did for a Chinese client, one of the big state-owned enterprises, and we're on their panel, and their legal department has undergone a couple of change of guards,
and
we're there. So it's not just about Guanxi.
Right.
Again, it goes back to my earlier. It's about values actually, and this is the time. I mean, the people who really create value for Chinese clients are the winners.
Sure.
So we help them with a litigation in the U.S. and that was hugely successful. And that helped build a huge amount of trust with this company. And so we're not just people, we're not seen as people who are there to push some paper for them that somebody else can also do.
Right.
We're seen as people who have their best interest in our hearts.
You got their back.
We empathize with them. We're there. We give them the impression, okay? When it comes to mentoring, for instance, I always tell people, it doesn't matter whether you mentor your more junior colleagues or not, as long as you make them feel they're mentored. So you need to make clients feel you empathize with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we actually do. I do
but
as well.
I think maybe
do
the
as well.
key point though is
I do, and you also make them feel. But sometimes you do empathize with the client, they don't feel you empathize with them. That's an even bigger disaster.
Right. So it's what you're saying is it's the emotional exchange, it's the emotional commitment, not just the transactional.
There is that emotional commitment, but you don't want to overdo it.
Right.
Because if you do it, you think it's Guanxi, then you're wrong. It's really values. It's like you tell your story to people, and they understand you, they trust you, they feel like you are a reliable person. And then you may waver, you may go away, you may move away from them for the right reason, which is based on your values, and they will respect that.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you not only let them know what you're about, but I think the key thing you also said is you deliver on that, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's something is you're giving the story of who you are, your values, letting them buy in, and then creating that first exchange where they see that is true and is real.
Yeah.
How about leadership?
So one of the things I tell my younger guys is, look, we used to have all these Chinese kids fresh out of school, and some of them went abroad as well. Got some degrees from overseas, but they mainly stayed in these Chinese communities, didn't really hang out with anybody, and they didn't play sports and all that, right? So I told them that, look, you guys we have a lot of soft-spoken, very nice people.
Yeah.
Like almost like inconsequential people.
Sure.
I told them that, look, is that your goal? Is your goal to be an inconsequential person? Smiling all the time and don't air your views and all that. I said, look, being a nice person is not the goal. Okay, we're nice people. Okay,
right.
That's great, but being a nice person is not the goal. It's the goal is to lead. to display our values. I'll tell them that. I said, look, you were at the meeting with me today. You were all smiley and you supported me. That was all fine, but
Thanks,
yeah. But you got to look at yourself as a trusted advisor by the client, and they are not paying you because you're smiling there, because you're agreeing with everything they say. They're paying you because you're guiding them.
Right.
You're thinking one step ahead of them. If I did something right and I caught the attention of a client and I really drove them in one direction for their own benefit, I would tell this young associate, I said, look what I did. This is what I did.
Right.
And if I didn't do that, the result will be very, very different.
Right.
And I'm just a Mr. Nice Guy, it won't cut it. That's one of the things that I see lacking in China, which I hope I do a reasonably good job. That's mentoring our people. I mean, we have people leaving the firm, right? You have turnovers, natural attrition and all that.
Right.
People staying. But what I can feel quite proud of is I personally talk to these people all the time and share my secrets with them.
Uh-huh.
Secrets that I'm not sharing with you.
Yeah.
Because I feel you need to make them feel you're sharing secrets with them.
Sure.
Because I remember when I first joined an international, my first real job, it was a very big global law firm, and I felt like nobody was sharing any secrets with me. And, it was very tough. If people don't share secrets with you, actually you will never make it. You need to figure out a way to get people to share secrets with you.
Uh-huh.
So, don't ever try to be the smartest man among your friends.
All right.
Instead, you need to make sure that smart people become your friends. And when people share their secrets with you, you will know. Yeah, so that's what I try to do with my associates. I share my secrets with them.
So how do you get those people to share their secrets with you? You may be the smartest in the room, but you never think you are, or position yourself that way. Second, you want these people's secrets. And not in a malicious or kind of a big intent way, but you're like, hey, I'm only going to get better if these people help me.
I have to say, one of the reasons I'm an Anglophile is I worked in a large, my first real job was with a British law firm.
Uh-huh.
And in their Hong Kong office, at the time when there was still a lot of British influence, I think the culture has changed somewhat since 17, 18 years ago. When I first got there was still a very large British contingent. And I have to say, I'm a China boy, Chinaman, but I was like maybe the only the only person in the China team who actually hang out with the Brits.
Right.
To go for drinks with them. And
socialize.
They sort of reacted to that very, very positively because they started to gossip about you in very nice ways. And when that happens, you will know that you're onto something with them.
What do you mean gossip about you in nice ways? That was like what?
Oh, the British and the Chinese are both very gossipy people. Sure. So they will gossip about you. And when they have had fun with you, they will say something nice about you, like some contributions you made, some remarks you made. And they will, when you will know that you appreciate it, and they see you almost as an insider.
Right.
In China as well, people are gossip, people are just naturally gossipy.
Right.
So
they talk about you, and you're talking about good gossip, not
good gossip. Yeah, good gossip. Yeah. I'm talking about good.
So
gossip.
Like they'll praise you almost.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They'll say something nice behind your back, and that might. Catch your attention once in a while. That's a nice thing.
That's really
so.
Nice.
So in the China team at the time, we had Americans, we had Germans, we had Chinamen like me. But I was I would say at least one of the very few, if not the only one, who regularly hang out with our sort of British friends to go for drinks. And that really. That was a very good thing that I did, and I learned a lot. I learned so much from them. And I remember at one point I was sitting next to a senior partner of the firm. I was a first-year associate, and I was freaking out. I said, oh dear, I have to say something to impress him, right? I have to say something very intelligent.
Right.
So I kept talking, and I could tell he wasn't that impressed. And then at one point, after a few drinks, he said, LQ, let me tell you something. Being an Englishman is like winning a lottery for life. I love that. I mean, to me, it's like I learned so much about communication hanging out with the English because they communicate so effectively. I found that saying, what he said, so funny. I was like, I almost agreed with him. And even if I didn't agree with him, that doesn't matter. You know, it was just one way of saying things that it was so sharp, you know? Like he was a proud Englishman, and I like that. I love that, you know? Just like I'm a proud enough Chinaman.
Yeah, sure.
And I just found that way of communication so effective.
And impressive.
And so funny. And people remember that. And I've told the story to a few other friends, you know, like Americans and Germans, and they all reacted negatively. But when I told them that, it was like a joke. Everybody enjoyed the joke, you know. But they was, oh, how can an Englishman say something like that? Right. You know, that's treacherous. You know, that was the point. And he was so proud of himself, and he told me that when he was drunk.
Yeah.
And he was a senior partner. He shared a secret with me.
Right.
He shared a secret with me. You know.
That's awesome.
Wasn't that awesome? And so things like that. So I one of the things I tell in mentoring my associates is about how do you communicate? You know, you don't want this monotone from you to keep going and going and going, right? That's why I stress fun. You know, it needs to be fun. Sometimes you can be a little bit, I mean, with the right audience, you don't need to be politically correct all the time. You know, sometimes you can say, I can make some self-deprecating, deprecating jokes about the Chinese people.
Sure.
And get away with it. You know, you know, look, that's all okay. You know, as the effective communication is part of leadership.
Absolutely.
I shared a secret story with you now.
And are there any patterns or habits that you do every day that you think have contributed to your success? Like you said, you have these kind of values of fun, of being valuable, but so it could be something mental, or it could be something
it's
physical.
Probably something mental. I'm generally quite an inquisitive person, especially when it comes to history issues, right? So I actually do a fair, I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, I do a fair amount of research every day by myself, like on Google and on, not every day, but quite regularly. If suddenly I think of a story in history that really intrigues me and I have a new perspective on that story, but I need an answer for a certain issue, I will go online and do some research on it.
So your habit is, I think, curiosity. And then the follow-up is
and
research.
that just helps my outlook, you know.
Really?
My worldview, you know, sort of. Yeah, but it takes time to build all that up, right?
Absolutely.
So in my case, it's 23 years, and suddenly I can tell people I figured out everything about Chinese history. Figured out everything.
Right,
that's true, though.
Yeah.
I actually am very confident about my. Yeah, I can tell people I figured out everything.
Same thing. It's like I'm just as confident as I figured out how to build trust in this country. I travel because I'm very confident. How do you keep growing?
I try to hang out with great people. Like, you know, the Global History Club I put together, you know, wonderful people. Passion, you know, everybody is passionate about history, but the bottom line is we're going to have a good time together.
Yeah.
We don't even have to talk about history.
Sure.
Okay, but we tend to talk about history.
Anyway.
We tend
Someone
to talk
breaks
about
out into something and then it becomes
if somebody's the idea is we need to make sure everybody has a good time. Okay, it's not about just you. It's like all of us will have a good time together.
Right.
And so I learned so much from these guys, you know, these people. That gives me an opportunity to watch people too, right? These are very successful people.
Yeah.
You know, incredible. So I get to learn from them. I learn from people. Yeah.
Yeah, you learn from people.
Yeah, learn from people.
And the way you do that is
so you
create a fun environment. You're curious about them.
You're curious about them. And look, I have a network of low maintenance friends. Okay, people who I don't have to be too polite with. I can just, you know, shoot them a very direct email looking for an answer, and they will shoot back an email very quickly or call me. Yeah, I don't want to put a lot of effort into like ferret out secrets from people. I'm very proud I have a network of low maintenance friends, who can
Share secrets.
share secrets with me.
We're getting into the meat, which is some of these key things.
Sharing secrets is part of trust building. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
share first?
I would share first, yeah. Especially if you're a young guy, But you need to think about how you share it, right? You need to be a bit thoughtful, You need to be fun. And it needs to be something meaningful.
I lost $1 million.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like,
Yeah.
So what? You're an idiot. Like that doesn't help me learn more
Yeah,
about
I had
your
2
character.
divorces.
Yeah. Exactly.
Who cares? Who cares?
I think it's funny.
I'm a penniless old man. Who cares?
How do you stay accountable to yourself and to your company? One of the problems, I think, as we grow is accountability, right?
Yeah.
So we're accountable to our people we work with, people that work for us. We're accountable to our families. We're accountable to ourselves. And I think for me, I've had a lot of people have challenges being accountable to different groups. So what are the ways that you stay
accountability.
accountable?
Accountability in a firm environment, it's money. At the end of the year. At the end of the year, they will assess your performance, right?
Sure.
My goal is to expand our practice so that we can make young partners,
Okay.
to make this an institution.
So you just said you want to expand it for young partners. Is the goal of that sustainability? Is that why you specifically said young partners?
No, if I just want to feed myself, my family, I probably don't need to do a lot of things that I do. But my goal is, because I mentor them, right, and they have expectation of me, I have to deliver, right?
Right.
What do I deliver ultimately? I deliver something that they can grow up with.
Yeah.
They can take home with.
So what about accountability to yourself?
I don't know. Do I need to punish myself? I think in that sense, I'm a bit too bohemian. Probably, I'm very bohemian, so I'm not accountable to myself.
Okay.
But I'm accountable to other people, so they might cut my salary if my performance is not good, and I might get fired.
Personal life?
I'm like a bohemian guy. I believe in market forces.
What about your kids?
Oh, the kids, you have to put in a lot of effort, a lot of thought, and if they are not happy with you, you will know.
So you gauge all the people that you're accountable to, and you make sure that's what keeps you going in those directions.
Yeah, so I have a general sense of harmony, right? That's what all bohemian people have, right? If something is not in harmony, is out of harmony, then you will know.
Shift.
Everybody adjusts all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I don't really discipline myself or punish myself before the red flags start to pop up,
Right.
But I hope I'm not too dumb to
Miss things.
To miss things.
Sure.
But
But it feels like you're constantly pinging out almost. Feeling.
Yeah. I have feelers. My feelers are not completely numb.
So tell me about loneliness in China. I think that a lot of people, coming from your background too, I think is interesting because you said that your heritage had some prejudice, but then you went and then came back. And I don't know if there's a lot of people that were like you who had gone abroad for education. In these new
There are a
fields.
lot, but I have to say, in my generation, I was probably one of the more inquisitive, more curious ones.
Okay, yeah.
About other cultures.
Sure.
and
Amongst your peers.
Amongst my peers, because many people went abroad and they still lived like, they didn't really
traditional,
absorb a whole lot, and so I don't feel very lonely. I'm actually not very lonely.
But at that time, did you feel lonely, or you didn't because you were able to bridge and get that other side?
I have to say I've never felt lonely ever since I came back to Shanghai.
Why is that?
This is my city. I add value to my city. I really add value to my city.
Right.
Yeah. I have clients, I have good friends.
So you feel your city supports you?
If my city supports it, I'm so under the radar. I don't think that I'm on anybody's blacklist. Right. So not yet. So yeah. Also, I managed to build great friendships with all kinds of people.
Sure. What are some of your favorite books?
China, A History. That's the best history book written about China in the past 5,000 years. And it took a Scotsman to write it. He's a friend of mine now. He's called John Key, Keay. And he's an Indian scholar.
Oh, really?
So he has another book called India, A History.
Okay.
Which, of course, is even more informative because he is a Indian.
Yeah, that's his
scholar. That's
great.
his field. But China history is the best history book on China ever written by anybody.
I love it.
Yeah. I'll never read business books. I mean, I've seen titles. I have bought business books, but has one of those left a long-lasting impression on me? The answer is probably no.
Why do you think that is?
Because I don't think... I like to read fictions because my theory is only fictions tell you the truth without...
Boring.
Without...
Consequences,
with impunity. Yeah, these how-to books and all that, I feel... if you read fiction, a lot of it comes to you anyway.
Sure.
And they're stories.
Sure,
stories are more powerful
stories, absolutely.
than brainwashing.
How has your personal life impacted your business? Or kind of how's been maybe being a dad or a husband impacted the way you manage your people?
Well, of course. I mean, once you have a family, once you have a kid, that adds... you don't really mature once you go through all that, right? So there is a more humanistic aspect to you, which leaves a more sort of seasoned and even charming image, humane image.
Okay.
People. So I think that helps, But it also helps me to sort of put things into better perspective with our younger associates, right? When I mentor them. So now I can, because nobody told me about these stages in your life, right? You get married at a certain point, and then usually when you're a senior associate and you're trying to become a partner, that's the toughest time, because by that time you will have, a family, a full-blown family that you have to take care of, right? And by that time, clients will start to find fault with you. Your colleagues will start to find fault with you, right? So
it's like the hardest point.
It's the hardest point.
At work, it's the most challenging.
It's the most challenging.
And then you've never been a parent and a husband like this.
Everything will happen at the same
once.
time.
Yeah.
So, but nobody told me that. So when that came to me, and I had a divorce in that as well.
It's much harder.
Yeah, it was much harder. So I figured it out all by myself. I told myself, you're going to need this job. You want to keep this job. Just keep this job, at all cost, So that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah.
Because without the job, you
can't
take care of the family. You can't do anything else.
You basically are pulling the rug under yourself.
Right.
Then
what are you going to do?
Then what you're going to do? In my case, the job was very important because I love the job.
Right.
A lot of my clients are my friends now. So, so I consider myself one of those lucky ones who mingle work and life, actually.
So, but as you were focusing on work during this tough time, how did that impact your family?
It was very tough. It was very tough. And usually you will probably reach you'll be like late 30s, early 40s. That's a tough time. You might have health issues. So you need to take all that into account. So when things are not in harmony, you will know. And you need to,
So you would say that maybe because you needed the job, maybe the family side at that time may have suffered more. Obviously divorce and whatever, and then you're able to dig in and maybe create success with one thing. You dug into your job. May not have been great for them, but because you dug into your job, you're able to dig back in the family. I don't know. I'm just curious because you need to do it in a relatively transparent way as well. Because when you are closely watched by everybody, you need to give people the transparency. You tell the firm there's a divorce going on. Right? It's not really what I want, but it's life, and you're dealing with it, and you need to be mindful of some level of disclosure and transparency. You don't think that works against you? Like, oh, now he's unstable. Oh, now
it might work against you. So you need to be thoughtful, right? It's a balance. You need to manage that. I'm not saying you go around telling everybody about your problems, right? But in some cases you need to have some transparency. In some cases you probably don't, because you need to be smart. When all these crazy things are happening around you, and you might lose yourself, and
Right.
you're struggling, and you need to make sure you understand what's happening. You need.
But how do you know what's happening when you're in that?
Some reading
cloud?
helps. Some reading helps.
Really?
History, reading other people's stories, fictions. That helps a lot. When I was going through my first divorce, I read a book called Man and Boy.
Man and Boy?
Man and Boy. It was a funny book, great book, fiction, about a divorce of this guy who had a son, about my son's age.
Oh, your son's age. Yeah.
My son's age. I read the book for therapy.
Yeah. What's the most important thing you've learned from doing business in China?
It's not guanxi.
No.
It's not guanxi. It's values.
It's value. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Value and values. What concerns you the most professionally right now? And what concerns you the most personally right now?
Well, I want to add value and then expand our practice to help associates grow. Personally, I want to bring more harmony to my personal life. Hopefully I'll get married someday again. But there's no rush at this point.
Why do you want to get married again?
Oh, I don't want to die alone. I know I'm not going to die childless. Companionship and sharing.
No, I know
sharing the good things, good values.
Yeah, having someone to share with.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap up, if today was the last day, and you say is the worst thing, right?
I will write the historical fiction about Shanghai.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. They can read the historical fiction and figure it out. What I want from them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. This is your host, Preston Kuo, and thank you for getting made with us at the Made in China podcast. Most sincere thanks to LQ, the AmCham Shanghai SME Center, Made in China podcast advisors, and Team China Foundations. And of course, thank you to our audience from all of us for trusting us with your most valuable time to listen and give all this great feedback that we've been receiving over the past 2 weeks. Keep the feedback coming. Keep us honest. And if you like what you're hearing, please keep sharing.
You've been listening to Made in China, a podcast that raises the business game in China. We need your help. Tell us what you want and share the stories that matter. Check the show notes and more information about the show at getmadeinchina.com. That's getmadeinchina.com.